So Manchester United have been needing a midfield rebuild for a very long time now in the Premier League, as we have been really short in that department, and definitely we all know that Rúben Amorim wanted to get an athletic midfielder for Manchester United. But you're going to find out that from reports recently from Ben Jacobs, Manchester United wants to get 2 to 3 midfielders for Manchester United. But according to the Athletic, there is one defender that is ideally positioned to join Manchester United this summer, and there is one that is number one in the picking order, which is no other person than Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson is a player from Nottingham Forest, just 23 years of age. He's been really tearing up the Premier League, and recently against Manchester United, from his stats you could see that he was absolutely brilliant. He did very well against Manchester United. He was covering every single blade of grass. Elliot is somebody I definitely really like as a player, because I know that he's definitely going to tear up the midfield of Manchester United. He's going to be really effective for Manchester United in every phase of play. And also, looking at the heat map of Elliot, you're going to find out that he's a player that literally covers all the blade of grass in the Premier League. He's a player that progressively, carries the ball into the opposition's half with a lot of speed, with a lot of intensity, and he has a lot of ball work. This is probably a player that reminds me of Declan Rice. He reminds me of Paul Scholes, because he's very good in dribbling. He has a very good dribbling success rate. He's very clean with his dribbling. So Elliot is someone that I really like. Also, if you look at his progressive passes, he's been really progressive with his passes, that he passes into the 18-yard box, and also from his defensive actions, you're going to find out that he's very happy to cover every single blade of grass for Manchester United. And this is somebody that I know that if Manchester United and Rúben Amorim can get him in the midfield position, is definitely going to elevate us to the next level. He's really going to transform our midfield situation and try to make Manchester United to be one of the competing teams in the Premier League. So guys, let's actually talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of Elliot Anderson and how he can be able to transform the midfield of Manchester United. So guys, let's actually talk about the goal scoring of Elliot Anderson. So firstly, when you talk about goal scoring for a box-to-box midfielder, you need to consider a lot of factors. You need to consider a lot of circumstances and situations surrounding the player, surrounding the position and the rules that he plays during games. And if you're talking about the goal scoring of Elliot Anderson, he's not elite. He's not an elite goal scoring midfielder like Bruno Fernandes, like Declan Rice, like Roddy Hernandez. He's probably a player that actually plays a more of a box-to-box role, a more of defensive midfield role. So he doesn't really go into the box as much as he would want to go. So he definitely have not registered a goal yet in the Premier League this season, probably because Nottingham Forest have had like 3 managers this season, a lot of different systems, different managers, so probably it has affected his goal scoring abilities. But that doesn't mean that he's not a goal scorer. He's actually very good in goal scoring, and he's a player that actually shoots from low probability positions, so that has actually limited the amount of goals he has scored, because if you also look at his goals last season, majority of them were outside of the box or deflected shot from long range. So I feel that his shots does need a lot of, I think, a little bit of refinement, because most of the times he overhits the shot. Most of the time the shot has a lot of power or maybe aggression. So this is something that Elliot Anderson needs to work on when it comes to his finishing. But I know that our current midfielders are better than him when it comes to goal scoring contribution, but I know that Elliot Anderson is just 23. He's still very raw, so I know that he's definitely going to contribute to Manchester United in terms of goal scoring abilities. So Manchester United have been really struggling in trying to hold possession or dominate the midfield battles against top oppositions and against the big six in the Premier League for a very long time, because we have lacked the midfielders that can be able to regulate the ball, that can be able to hold the ball, that can be able to coordinate our midfield play. And definitely Elliot Anderson is the one for Manchester United, because the boy is really, really talented when it comes to possession play, when it comes to retaining possession, when it comes to playing those line breaking passes. This is definitely the player that is definitely going to take Manchester United to the next level. Elliot Anderson has been able to complete 743 passes in the Premier League season, which is definitely more than the current midfield pivot of Manchester United of Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro. And he has also had a more pass completion and completed pass more than the likes of Declan Rice, Watton, Baleba, and all the big Premier League midfielder, Casedo and the rest. So definitely when it comes to possession, Watton is really, really good. He's really, really tidy. He's very reliable in terms of keeping possession for the team, and is really going to help Manchester United to transform the team, because I think he's this kind of player that he likes to play possession. He likes to play the risky passes when it comes to keeping possession. He's not just a player. When I say that he's reliable in keeping possession, it doesn't mean that he plays the easy passes or he tries to, move the ball around the back just to pass to the defenders or try to play backward passes. But he's definitely a player that likes to play these risky passes. One of the things I really like in his possession and the way he tries to pass ball is that he tries to behave like his body movement is really confusing. So he pretends like he wants to leave a player in a certain position, and then he quickly changes his body positioning or body language and then passes to the person that you don't really expect. So he tries to play these guys passes to his teammates in a very line breaking way, just like Lisandro Martinez, who is very good in using his body. He's very good in shielding those passes, trying to give those line breaking passes, and he's a player that has actually attempted 53 long passes this season. So he's a player that can be able to form a back three with the Manchester United backline and try to create and try to play those long passes from deeper rows so he's definitely very good. He's a player that can be able to help Manchester United in possession and out of position. In position, he can be able to form that back three and try to make from a deeper role, because he can be a creative playmaker also for Manchester United. And also out of position, he's definitely a really wonderful player. I really, really love Elliot Anderson, and I know he has a lot of potential. He's going to be unlocked while he plays for Manchester United. And also just to note lastly, he has like 968 touches in the Premier League. That actually tells you that he's one of the elite midfielders in the Premier League. He likes to take a lot of touches. He likes to be involved in build-up, in linking up the midfield and trying to connect passing circuits. He's a player that is also going to be effective for this pentagon shape that Rúben Amorim likes to create on both sides of the pitch. He's a player that can be able to play in various positions in the team, and is somebody that cannot be restricted to a particular position because he's very expressive. He's a very expressive player, and most of the times you won't know if he's a number 6, if he's a number 8, or if he's a number 10. So guys, let's actually talk about the defensive attributes of Elliot Anderson. I know that many people actually think that Elliot Anderson is actually good on the ball and not good defensively, but Elliot Anderson is a complete midfielder, because in as much as he's very good in possession and he can be able to create a lot of good contribution for Manchester United, he's also defensively solid, because you could see that he's a player that can be able to win the ball for over large distances with a lot of high intensity, with a lot of precision, with a lot of accuracy. He knows how to use his body, he knows how to shield the ball, and from his heat map you're going to find out that defensively he's really, really solid. And when it comes to the successful tackle per 90 minutes for Nottingham Forest this season in the Premier League, he actually ranks more than Declan Rice, Watton and Carlos Baleba, just ranking below Moses Caicedo. That tells you that he's really a monster on the ball. He's very defensively solid, and you're going to also find out that he has won 70% of his grand deals with a success rate of 55.8. That tells you that he's actually very good defensively. He's a player that can be able to help us to retain possession, because one of the things that Manchester United has been lacking over the few years is that we actually get midfielders that are good on the ball but are not good off the ball. You could see Bruno Fernandes, all his strengths are normally on possession. Mason Mount, Christian Eriksen, Casemiro is no longer that good off the ball, but the majority of his strengths now are on the ball. So this is definitely a midfielder that actually ticks all the box of Rúben Amorim. Getting an athletic midfielder, getting a midfielder that can be able to cover every blade of grass, getting a midfielder that can be able to play in that 5-3-2 shape, that can be able to attack those wide zones, that can be able to defend those wide zones, that can be able to track their men consistently in games. Definitely Elliot Anderson is a player that can be able to do all that for Manchester United. And also, when you talk about his weakness defensively, I think when it comes to his aerial deals, he's really not that excellent. I know he has won 50% of his aerial deals this season, but he's not really compared to early defensive midfielders like Moses Caicedo, like Casemiro, like Rodri Hernandez, like a Martin Zubimendi. His aerial deals has not really gotten to that level, but for his size, for his shape, he's really, really good aerially. But I know that that's one of his weaknesses. And also one of his weaknesses you're going to we want to speak about is that most of the times he's a little bit aggressive. Most of the times he doesn't effectively read the game. Most of the times he's too forward, too rough. So this is something that actually needs refinement. But I think bar the aerial ability and bar most of the times he's being too aggressive and being too forward, I think that he's definitely a very good player defensively for Manchester United. So let's actually talk briefly on the creativity of Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson is not really an elite creative player, even though that he has had an expected assist this season of 1.34. That tells you that he's actually creating more than he has actually converted into final assists, and this is actually very normal for young players, as they seem to create a lot of opportunities, but most of the time the final passes might not really meet the expectation. But I feel also in the case of Elliot Anderson, I think he has actually outperformed the XG, because based on the eye test, you're going to find out that he's making a lot of cutbacks, he's moving more into the penalty area, he drives a lot of balls into the penalty areas, he plays a lot of long progressive passes. But I just feel that the Nottingham Forest players are not really cool enough, so this has actually hindered the assist ratio of Elliot Anderson here, as he has just managed just 1 assist this season despite creating 15 chances in the Premier League so far. So in terms of creativity, he has really done well, but I just feel that the Nottingham Forest attackers, they are actually underperforming, so it is not really showing in the stats that it's really doing well. But based on the eye test, Elliot Anderson has been really creative for Nottingham Forest this season. He's been playing a lot of line breaking passes, and he's definitely one of the players that can be able to help Manchester United to break low block teams, because Manchester United has been really finding it hard tactically to break low block teams. You could see against Nottingham Forest as well. But with the help of Elliot Anderson, he plays a lot of line breaking long passes, so he can be able to split up those low blocks and try to create a lot of opportunities. He can also drive into the box effectively with balls with great precision. So he's definitely somebody that can be able to help Manchester United to elevate the creativity levels of the team. So guys, let's actually go to the tactical talk board of Elliot Anderson, and we'll actually talk about all the roles that he can possibly play for Manchester United. So personally, when he talk about the role that Elliot Anderson can play for Manchester United, he can play as a number 6 and as a number 8. So let's actually talk about how he can help Manchester United in the build-up phase. Obviously Amorim likes to build up in the possession box, likes to get one CCB close to the midfield and try to build up from the back. We already know this. So definitely Elliot Anderson can be able to help Manchester United in the build-up phase, because he's press resistant. He can run with the ball over large distances, as he has a dribble success rate of 58.3% this season. He's a player that can be able to dribble with high speed and intensity. He's a player that can be able to take the ball from deeper areas of the pitch and take it to the at the top of the pitch. So he's definitely somebody that can be able to help Manchester United in terms of how we build up, in terms of how we want to play from the back. He's definitely a wonderful player to build up with. And then when you talk about how Elliot Anderson can be able to help Manchester United attacking wise, he does something that Declan Rice does that I really like. He's a player that can be able to attack those wide zones. He's a player that can be able to attack those wide channels and be able to play crosses or cutbacks into the team. You all know that when Amorim forms that possession box on the left or the right side of the pitch, the central midfielders, the right or the left central midfielders are actually when Manchester United are in possession, they're expected to make that runs in behind. They're expected to also attack the channels, attack the widths, and try to cross the ball and try to put cutbacks or crosses into the box. Elliot Anderson is the player that actually suits that, because he can be able to attack those wide zones, those wide channels. And definitely, Rúben Amorim likes to play in the 5-3-2 shape out of position most of the times. He can be able to play in the 5-2 shape because he's a player that can be able to cover a lot of ground. He's a player that can be able to cover those wide zones, that can be able to make sure that the opponents are not really passive on Manchester United. So when it comes to overall thinking on if Elliot Anderson is the player that can be able to suit Manchester United, of course he's definitely a Manchester United player, because he has the character, he has the personality, he has the quality. He can be able to help Manchester United in build up, in attack, and in the defensive phase. So guys, I want you guys to give me your thoughts on the comment section on if you feel Elliot Anderson is the best player for Manchester United. I want you guys to like, to share, to subscribe to Tactical Trafford. See you guys in my next video.